is the earth. This is the energy that we eat. This is the energy that everything that's going on earth just about is based upon. And so, wow, that is so incredible. And the sun creates all of that energy itself. Wow, this was the beginning of our conversation. That is like amazing, you know. Can I do that? Can I learn to create that energy? And the sun says, yes. Wow, how do you do it? And the sun says, fusion. And then that sets off a whole kind of thing going on in my mind. What is fusion, right? Fusion, when two people, like say we get into a relationship and where there's a chemistry, right? And you start to come close, and this is one of the things that a lot of times will break the relationship, is there's a disagreement, or one of those aspects of the person you didn't see before, and you go, gee, I thought I knew you, but you know. So then, there's some tendency then towards sort of repelling each other. And especially, I'm going to use right now the analogy of the protons as sort of being the egos, right? Egos generally clash. And whether you're men or women, because every man has a woman inside of him and every woman has a man inside of him, right? You have a man and a woman together in a room, you actually have 4 people. That's like at least 2 men and 2 women. So the ego, you know, tends to act, you know, 2 egos come together, they act like 2 protons coming together. What happens? 2 positively charged things come together, they repel each other. You know, I really get along with you well as long as we don't talk about this one particular thing, you know, because the defensiveness and the opinionated kind of things can come up, and it's like, you know, it's like, well, I think you need to get saved. It's like, no, I don't, because God is pure spirit. You know, there is no sin, you know, and it's like, right? You know, various different things where egos clash. So, and a lot of times that causes a breakup in the relationship, right? People have a good relationship, but then suddenly they start to get so close that they get to know one another, and then their egos clash. And then, I thought you were best friends. No, I can't stand them anymore. So what is it that can overcome that, right? We know from nuclear physics, using it as a metaphor, that 2 protons, if they come together with enough force, they actually overcome that repulsion. And when they overcome that repulsion, where there's a stronger force than that repulsion, then they bond. And when they bond, they release an incredible amount of energy. That's what we are living on. You know, protons bonding in the sun to create hydrogen coming together to create helium and releasing this incredible energy. So in the handbook of Confusionism that I got before, there is actually a thing on fusion where it says, you know, when 2 people come together with a strong enough commitment or a strong enough love for one another that is so strong that it overcomes the difficulties that arise in the clash of egos, they will go through a fusion process. And in that fusion process, then tremendous creative energy will be released. It's what Napoleon Hill called the, I can't remember, but like sort of your magic mind group. You know, people who become so close, or certain bands, certain groups, certain people who work together. You know, all this creative energy and potential created because of that. So that brings us through all those things, and then just to end on a final note, I'm sorry, because it's like, I went over the 15 minutes. But
you're doing fine. It's perfect.
On a personal note, because I feel like that's all very abstract, you know, and kind of stuff like that, and it would have been nice to talk more personal things about relationships and everything. And so I just wanted to say, to end with one piece of practical advice in terms of human relationships. And to do that, I have to tell a little bit about the genesis of Confucianism so that people are not confused about it. You know, this was not started to be a religion. This was not started as a creative endeavor. This was started merely as a personal response to a crisis of transition. Because I spent over 20 years as a committed member of the Unification Church. And then, so it was my intellectual, spiritual, organizational home. And then when I didn't feel so much at home there anymore, and decided, to transition out of that, then I was reading a lot of different things, thinking about things. Before I related everything to a certain teaching, and but now I didn't have that, and so I didn't really know what I thought. And when I would meet people and they would ask, maybe see me reading a book on something, oh, what religion are you? Then it was like, or what do you think about this? I don't know, I didn't feel comfortable saying, I don't know what I think, or I don't know what I am, because they wanted a label, and so I would say, I am a Confucianist. Then they said, oh, a Confucianist, I think I studied that in college. Yeah, you might have become very confused in college. That's Confucius. And, so then they go, oh, Confucianism. And I was surprised that people would take this so seriously. Well, what is that? Right? So I had to make up, oh, well, Confucianism is, that there are 4 fundamental values: freedom, love, creativity, the divine. It doesn't matter what you think about those things, it matters what you experience them. And if you want to experience them, then you need to have an open mind. And they, oh, well, how did that start? So then I had to make up a story of pro and con, and that there's a modern day prophet named Al-Salami who runs a delicatessen in New York City. And then you guys kept asking me to come to talk, so I had to write a book of Genesis. And so that was the origin of Confucianism. But it kind of came from that transition out of Unificationism, which I have to say, was not a painful or a bitter thing. It was just a confusing thing. And that it's not that I harbor bad feelings. There were a lot of valuable things that I learned. So I like to give credit where credit's due. So my final sort of the thing comes from a sermon that I heard from Reverend Moon back in the 1970s. He used to give a lot of good internal guidance sermons, and one of them was called On Human Relationships. And it said that one of the keys to human relationships is to take responsibility, because once you take responsibility, then you can sympathize with the other person. And when you can sympathize with the person, then reconciliation will begin. And he used a theological model for it, saying that the original being, God, is a being totally of heart. So when man fell away in a way that was destructive, it caused intense pain for him. So his immediate reaction was to want to lash out in anger. But at the same moment, in that same instant, he realized that he actually was responsible as the creator of the universe. And as soon as he felt responsible, he was able to sympathize in the story in the Bible with Adam and Eve. And so once he could sympathize with them, then restoration could begin. And that was the beginning of restoration. So whether you agree with that particular story or not, as a practical matter, because I took that to heart, and many, many times I found that when there is a disagreement, if you can think yourself and take responsibility and go, gee, if I hadn't said this, or if I hadn't done this, not looking like Jesus said, don't look at the mote in the other person's, but remove the log from your own. And you go, yeah, I really was kind of a jerk. And you say to them, I'm sorry that I said such and such, or that I did this, or whatever, I really shouldn't have done that. Then, first of all, you're free. And once you take responsibility and can sympathize, you can forgive. So you're free. That whole dynamic of forgiveness comes in. But it also opens the way for the other person then to say, well, I'm sorry too, hugs, everything's fine. And then that relationship is deeper. And for me, that really actually is the process of fusion. If you go through that, you actually move forward into fusion. The relationship is stronger and better than it was before. The other person won't always respond. Some people can never take responsibility or admit that they were wrong. But still, you are free, and it still reconciles the relationship. It's just that you learn something about that person. So I just wanted to end with that, a practical kind of note. Take responsibility. Then, as soon as you do, you can sympathize with the other person, and then reconciliation can occur. So that is the end of my part, and I'm going to leave the song out so that we can